Spirit Speaks. Today is your opportunity to ask Sandra Marie, psychic medium, and myself, Karen Swain, questions from Spirit. Are there loved ones you want to speak with? Is there some guidance you want from your spiritual team or from higher consciousness? Today we're doing that again on the show with Spirit Speaks on ATP Media. Stay tuned.
You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to Karen Swain, teacher of deliberate creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
G'day, and welcome to another show, Accentuating the Positive with Karen Swain on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105 FM syndicated radio, streaming all over the place, about 120 countries apparently, and on 8 internet platforms. So great to be with you again. And look, Sandra Marie, Sandy is in the house again. Hey, Sandy, welcome.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
So great. She got the time. So our clocks went back. We were just talking daylight savings. Our clocks went back the night before last. So it's like an hour earlier for me. And Sandy got the times wrong. I don't know. It's been the crazy energy of this year. Everything going wrong. My green screen just before we went live fell down behind me. So if chaos reigns during this show, it's just all part of the energy of 2025. Chaos is reigning. Oh, wow. What are we going to do on the show today? We're speaking with Spirit today. We've got a few. Vladdy and Shirley are online. Hey, guys. And a couple of questions already. Vladdy says, what's the most important thing people need to hear at this time? Sandy, do you want to have a stab at that one?
Sure. The first thing I heard was be patient, be kind to each other. One of the biggest things we need to do is quit being so judgy of each other and so sure that we are the only ones that are right. We need to, everybody has their opinion, and, there's a saying about everyone's opinions, but what they're saying is that the biggest thing right now is we all need to reach beyond our comfort level and kind of find a meeting ground. So many things right now are trying to divide us all. And in the spiritual thing, we're all one. In the spiritual realm, we're all one. And they're trying to break that up. And we need to try to make sure that we keep it together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Jumping in right now. Oh, yes, Spirit's starting strong with messages, Shirley says. Absolutely. Starting strong with messages. Yeah, what's the most important thing we need to know right now? Well, we are in a time of great change, both globally and personally. And 2025, as I've spoken about on the show, or maybe, I don't know, I've spoken about on the show, I've spoken about in groups and sessions, is a 9-year, which is a year of endings, transition, change. So lots of changes happening. And with change, usually, I think humans are really stubborn to change. I know as I get older, I am. So in order to get us out of our comfort zone, usually a lot of chaos happens. And with Spirit, everything that happens to us is happening for us and not to us. We have to remember that everything is happening for us. It is our soul's calling. It is our soul summoning it, that we have some things we still want to do, whether we feel like we're winding down, we're getting older, or we're winding up. But everything that's happening in the world is because on some level, our soul has summoned it, including the shift in human consciousness on the planet right now and the chaos in the world. Like, old systems are crumbling, and as the old systems crumbling and no longer work, brilliant, inspired people come up with new systems. I mean, we've seen this over history again and again and again. Old things, finished, like we finish with the old and we start new. I'm thinking about the way we watch media. Like we used to have the old DVDs popped in the video player, and then we had CDs, and now we've got streaming. It's like we're evolving technologically, but we're evolving consciousness. And so with change. So if there is chaos in your life, like there is in mine, I don't know,
Yeah.
any chaos in your life, Sandy?
Just a tad. I was giving a new direction by my team to, yes, I'm still doing sessions and stuff like that, but I've also been handpicked to help a woman who is going through a lot of health issues and stuff. And we're going to work on prepping her for her own transition. It's switching my boundaries a little bit or pushing my boundaries a little bit. But I'm still doing sessions. And today I had a session. And one of the big things we're talking about is everybody, this person, one of these people had, she's so worried about her getting older, and she's so worried about getting, she has a heart condition and she's worried about that. And they keep saying, if you, where you worry is where you put your energy. And if you're going to keep worrying, then you're going to rob yourself of all the joy and experiences that you could have in the meantime. So we were both laughing because I was saying, man, my knees are starting to hurt. I'm getting older. And I was like, I have to do something. And we both decided that we're going to do what we need to do to feel better, but we're also going to not concentrate on it beyond that. And we're going to enjoy what we can. And that's a huge thing, especially as you get older, to remember you're not dead yet. You still have things to do, and important things still. No matter how old you are, you still have important, as long as you're breathing, there's still a purpose for you to be here and a reason for you to be here. So I'm embracing the chaos.
Yeah, embracing the chaos. I was channeling a message. I didn't mean to channel. I was sending a message, and ended up being a channeled message to someone who's going through great chaos. And it was a beautiful message. And the crux of the message was, it's not permanent and it's not personal. It's all part of the energy of this time. Like if there is like pure chaos in your life and everything is not working, like maybe finance isn't working and career isn't working and relationships aren't working and things are breaking and everything's sort of crumbling and falling down. It's all part of the energy of our time. It's not permanent and it's not personal. And I think that that's a really important thing to remember, because when it happens to us, we feel like it's all really personal, like the universe, I'm cursed. The universe hates me. Yeah. Everything, why me? Everything's going wrong. Everything's breaking. Nothing's going right. But yeah, it's just all part of the chaos of the time. I mean, even in my house, I use that sticky stuff mostly to put pictures up on the wall, and they fall off the wall every now and then and smash usually. Well, anyway, but one or two paintings, but like I've had 6 paintings just fall off the wall, and I just left them off because it's sort of like my world is crumbling around me. Like paintings are just falling off the wall. It's so crazy. And things are breaking, ovens are breaking, and this is breaking. As I said, just before we went live, like the green screen fell down behind me. Now, listen, there's quite a few questions happening here. Hiya, everyone, down to earth, common sense. Shirley's got a great question that she actually asked in the Inner Sanctum online chat, which is really interesting. And the guides have already answered it through me before. Hello, Spirit. Could you speak to Canada's MAID program? I'm interested in knowing more about what is becoming the new normal way to exist. Did those using MAID design this in their life plan? Okay, so the MAID program, you'll have to tell me, Shirley, what it stands for, but it's assisted dying.
Medically assisted.
Medically assisted. Shirley, you'll have to say what it stands for. But I think that Shirley was saying in the group that she's had like 3 or 4 people that she knows that has used it. And the question she had in the group was a little different. Like, is it, have people used this? And the resounding energy I got for it was yes. It really doesn't matter how you take yourself out of this physical existence. Like, remember last time we spoke to, who was the actor that died? There was all this controversy around his death.
Gene Hackman.
And what did he say from Spirit? He said, you humans was actually not the word he used. That was my word. But you people are so concerned about how people die rather than how people live. And I thought, like we get so concerned about how people die rather than how people live. But how we exit the matrix, how we exit this life is like we use any form available to us. And if the MAID program, if assisted and medically, if like we make a choice consciously that we want to leave, yeah, we can do it. And it's aligned with our soul plan. I think that sort of decision, when you're making that choice, Spirit once said to me that every death is a death by suicide in some respects, because we poison ourselves with, alcohol and cigarettes, and we don't live really healthy lives. Like we have the capacity to live for 100, 120, 150, 200 years. Well, our bodies have the capacity to live for an extraordinary long amount of time, but because of the way we live our lives, we're on this constant we're killing ourselves constantly, filling our physical bodies. But yeah, what do you want to say about that, Sandy?
I was just going to say, when speaking to Canada's MAID program, America has something that some states have, death with dignity laws, and all I'm getting is you're right. That no matter how someone goes, we've all led ourselves along that path to have it end the way it does, and we've agreed to things before we even came here. But the MAID program is working for a greater good, a better ending for people. Again, one of the things of it, how you lived your life to this point, but there's no glory in a horrific end. If a person is going and they have made the conscious decision, I have seen people that didn't get assisted who said, I'm going in the next hour. I just called to say goodbye, and they do. So I think that at the end, no matter what your situation is when you're dying or at the door, you have decisions that can be made, and whether it's made by assisted in that way, or, I mean, some people are just plain ornery enough that they choose their time, or so set in their ways that they choose their time. So I think that I will believe that there are some people that may abuse the situation, but that's not on you, that's on them. So, and ultimately it's their choice. So I think that the MAID program and the Death with Dignity places, it's a whole new, like another world. The way things were in the past, everything evolves and it's changing. And I do believe that there are certain people who just have the right to pick their time to go before they lose any choices. So while I'm not sure if I've answered her question, I do believe that the MAID program and Death with Dignity programs there's a purpose of use. And like you said, ultimately, we all pick how we all pick
how we exit.
Yeah, we all pick our poison.
In time to come, when we evolve more, we'll understand that we have that conscious choice, that we can live our bodies consciously. But this is not mainstream. This is not a thought form that's in the collective. Like, we don't know that we can just leave. In fact, we do it every night. I've said this so many times. Like, we leave our body every night when we sleep. And we have the conscious choice to, like, come back or not come back. Remember when people used to die in their sleep? It was much more common when I was young. You never hear about that anymore. You always hear about how people die, some terrible disease or something, or some MAID program or something takes them out. You never hear, like, they went to sleep and then they didn't wake up again. So their soul or their consciousness made a choice that, I'm out of here. But we will reach that point where we understand that we have that power to do that. Like, we all have it right now, but we don't understand we have that power. I think Yogananda, who was a guru that brought yoga to America, to the West, back in the beginning of the 20th century, he did that. He said to his disciples, I'm going now. He wasn't sick. I think he was in his late 50s. He wasn't old. And he just went into meditation and he's left his body, and something remarkable happened. His body didn't decay for like months afterwards. They had it on display and it didn't decay, which was, amazing because of the energy. But I had an old relative in New Zealand who was in her 90s who really wanted to die. And she didn't understand she had that choice. And she kept asking me, how am I going to die, Karen? I said, make a decision and line up with it. And she got a cancer diagnosis and she thought, you beauty, maybe this will take me out. she was like, I lost my thing. She was like mid-90s and she was over it. She was like, I want to die. And when she got sick, she was like, yay, maybe this will kill me. But it wasn't going wasn't going to kill her. So she tried to starve herself to death, and she got pretty unwell. And the maids and the nurses used to come and look after her on a daily basis. And I remember one of them saying, "You're not going to kill yourself by starving yourself to death. You're just going to put yourself in pain. So eat. Will you eat?" Anyway, she would ask me every day, "How am I going to do this?" And I used to say to her, "Make a decision and line up with it. Don't say I want it. Just make a decision."
Just do it. Yeah.
And day after day went by. And then her husband's niece came over and said, "I'll come back and see you tomorrow." Hope, her name was Hope. And she looked up at her and she said, "I won't be here tomorrow." And I remember thinking, she's made a decision. She didn't say, "I don't want to be here tomorrow." She said, "I won't be here." And she died that night. Yeah. So we do have that. We do have that ability to create anything we want, including like just stepping out of the body, just leaving. But we, on the most part, don't understand we have that ability. We have to wait until we're just horrendously ill and in pain. And usually when we're so sick or so old, that causes us to make that decision. At some point, it is a decision like we're making, right? I'm out of here. I'm done. I can't cope with this anymore. Anyway, so, what did you want to say?
That's right. So when my mom was leaving, she called us. It was a 3-hour drive to her house. I mean, to where she was at the hospital. And so I got the kids from school and we rushed in to say goodbye to her. And she said our goodbyes. And she said, "I need you to take care of your dad. And I need you to do volunteer in my stead." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "Now the next time you see your daddy, I'll be gone." So I went home and gave them some time alone. And it was the only night in my life I've ever seen shooting stars. And there were tons. And so all the grandkids were sitting on her steps down to her front porch. And we were sitting there and they were all making wishes that grandma get better and stuff. And I'm like, grandma's already decided, you guys. I said, "We're not doing anything good. Let's go in." So we went to go to bed. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And all of a sudden my father strolls in and I say, "Oh my God, it happened so fast." And he goes, "What?" I said, "What are you doing home?" And he said, "I can't sleep in those hospital chairs. It's ridiculous. I waited till your mom fell asleep and I left." And I went, "Oh, she's going to kill you." And so she did not leave that night. And the next morning I said, "Hey, Mama, I didn't expect to see you." She goes, "Yeah, I was gone, but I woke up and that man was gone and he's going to listen to me one time before I go." And so she stayed until one night. She said, "No, you know what? He doesn't want to. So you're just going to stay with me." So she woke up in the middle of the night. I was with her and she said, "I'm going." And I said, "Okay, all right. What if Daddy's mad at me?" She goes, "Oh, for God's sake, Sandy, I told you." All right, Mama, I agree." And I said, "Do you want me to call Daddy and tell him to come to the hospital?" And he said, "Oh, you can call." And he got there and they said, he came and said to her and he said, "Oh, she's not leaving." And they watched. She was supposed to only last like an hour, it seemed like. And she was hanging on for something. And as soon as my dad left the room, she went because she told me, "No, he had his chance to be with me when I left. This time I'm leaving without him, whether he likes it or not." And she literally waited and went while he wasn't in there on purpose. And I thought that is determination. But I have seen in multiple people since then that they pick their time. They literally say, "I won't be here tomorrow," or "Thank you for staying with me. Why don't you go have a cup of coffee?" And then they're gone. And they just didn't want to leave while you were there and stuff. I've seen it multiple times and it's amazing to me each time. And I laugh because everybody goes, "Oh, death happens to you." I don't. The more I've seen, the less I believe that. I believe you pick it. And so
exactly. We do. Maybe not on a conscious level all the time, but our soul, like it's conscious when we're dead. Like we know we've picked it, but often what our soul wants and what our ego is focused on are two different things. But even Hope's husband, he was sick in a nursing home, and they had, I think it was during COVID, they had some outbreak where they couldn't. No one was allowed to go into the nursing home or the facility that he was in. And he was not happy, but his wife kept saying, "Don't die, don't die." So he was hanging in there, and he was just in a really bad state. He was old and he was like, he couldn't do anything for himself and he didn't want to be here. I could feel him wanting to go, but I could also feel him staying because his wife pleaded with him every day, "Please don't go." And then when she couldn't come to the nursing home, I felt it. I heard him say, "Oh, great, I'm out of here."
Yeah.
He had the opportunity to go. Anyway, she wasn't happy about that. Kristen has a question here. I have a personal question. Oh, has my personal guide Elizabeth left me? If so, why? If not, why do I feel like she has? Ah.
I don't believe she's left you, Kristen. I believe that she's taken a step back because you have some things you need to work out. They're there to guide, not to do the steps for us. And I feel like you may have felt the distance, but she's giving you the space so that you know that you're making your decisions on your own. They're there to guide us, not to tell us what to do. So I would suggest that if you didn't ask this, but I would suggest that if you want to feel closer to her, let her know that you're not asking her to run your life. You just want her company, her companionship, and her guidance. And I think that she's kind of missing the closeness as much as you are. So I think she would like to step back in.
Yeah. Yeah, I get the same thing, that she definitely hasn't left you. One of the reasons I do this show is I see so many people feel like when death happens that we're left behind and we can never say what we want to do. And I never said this to my father. I never said this. And it sort of frustrates me because, as you and I know, as mediums, and we are all mediums, and spirit hears every thought we have, like there's, there's no privacy, kids. Everything you think, they're listening to. There is always communication available. You just have to open your mind. But with Elizabeth, what I'm getting, Kristen, is that she hasn't gone anywhere. She's there, but there are other dudes, there are other people that are stepping forward because of what's going on in your life, and you're asking different questions, and with your team, there are different team members that are there for different reasons. To allow you to evolve, and they have more expertise. So she hasn't gone anywhere at all, but there are others that are stepping forward, that collective consciousness. And they're also saying that, rather than seeing separate identities, know that you're tapped into that same collective consciousness that everyone is. Some people call it God, some people call it the unified field, some people call it collective consciousness, or the Akashic records, that you can tap into any wisdom that you like. It doesn't necessarily have to be an identity, a singular person. Often guides are with us in that way because that's the way we relate as humans. And then as you start to evolve more spiritually, you just tap into that wisdom, whatever you want to call it, and it doesn't necessarily have an identity. My guide said this to me right at the beginning when I was asking, who is my spirit guide? They laughed at me and they said, oh my God, we've been so many identities. Pick one and we'll show up as one. But for the most part, I don't speak to identity. Yeah.
When I was starting to study with you, one of my biggest things was, who's my spirit team? And you're like, well, so we did a meditation, and they have names, but I wanted like a collective, a name for the whole group and everything. And they're like, call us Joe Schmo. It doesn't matter. We're still there. And I just started laughing. I'm like, I'm not calling you Joe Schmo. So I call him my team, because I feel like Joe Schmo is kind of like, generic, but
Joe Schmo. That's what I couldn't get the name for them. I had a shop called Bliss, and then I started a massage business after that called Blissful Beings. And I kept asking them, what is your name? What is your name? Give me a name, like demanding a name. And one day they said to me, and they just laughed at me for the most part. They do a lot of that. They said, who do you think the blissful beings are? And I thought, oh my God, I've been using the name for years. Forever, and I hadn't even realized. But they said, that's not really our name. Like, you can give us any name you want, the council, the collective 9, the galactic council, the ascended masters, God, angels. You can call us anything you like, because we're collective consciousness. Whatever name you want to use, it works. It's going to work for us. Okay, there's a million questions here.
Okay.
Thirsty says, hi, great question. Vladdy. Is there anything that I need to tell my father? Okay, Vladdy, here we go. Is there anything that I need to tell my father? Will he be all right?
Their answer to that question is, no matter what, he'll be all right. I had a cousin that went missing, and everybody was searching for her, and I tapped into my parents and I said, is she all right? And my mom said, of course, but you're not going to like this, but she's going to be all right, whether she's on our side or your side. And So frustrating. I mean, all right, by human standards.
Yeah, I
But
know.
again, all they're telling us is, okay, they did say that you can tell your father that it's okay, that it's no matter what he chooses, it's going to be all right. And then, as they say, either way, it's all right. And there are
Yeah,
multiple, they're saying there are more than two choices for whatever the situation is. So I don't know if he's looking at something, doing something, or however it's working, but whichever way your father chooses is going to be right for him.
yeah, absolutely. I got a Bloody says, thank you. I got a, a really good lesson about that with a girlfriend who died. But I just want to say what Kristen's saying here. My own mob, my team. Kristen says, I'm so glad Elizabeth's still here. Tingling all over. Thank you, lovely ones, she said. Thank you, honey one. That was a great question. Yeah, it's a good answer too. Yeah, years ago, a girlfriend of mine who was born thalidomide affected, the doctors killed her off constantly, was always telling her she was going to die. She got a brain tumor, but she'd had so many things wrong with her. She was always in hospital. And I, at the time, she just turned 40. I, at the time, didn't think she was going to transition because, the doctors kept saying, you're going to die, you're going to die. And she kept living, living. But I was worried about her, and I didn't go to see her in hospital because I'd moved about an hour away. And I didn't go in straight away because, as I say, she was always in hospital. So I didn't run to her side. And I had a dream the night she went into hospital, or she had an operation. She had an operation and had a dream after she had the operation. She was in a coma. And that's exactly what I said to her in the dream. I'm like, oh, Nikki, you're here. I said, are you going to be all right? And she said, yeah, I'm going to be all right. I said, you promised me you're going to be all right. She said, yes, I'm going to be all right. And I kept asking her in the dream. And I remember saying, didn't you just have an operation on your brain? Where's the scar? And she lifted up her head like this, and underneath it was all shaved. And there was this big scar above her ear, which I didn't see in the physical, but I saw in the dream. And I collaborated what I saw with her sister. But I rang her sister the next morning and I said, she's going to be fine. I had a dream about her reassuring her sister everything was going to be all right. And then she died that night. And I was like, but you promised me everything was going to be all right. And just like you said, Sandy, she came back to me in the dream and she said, everything is all right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not in my body, but everything's all right.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh, wow.
Uh-huh.
Right. Wow. It was such like, wow. Okay. I should have asked a different question. I should have said, are you going to stay in your body?
That's what I every time that something like that happens, I go, oh, I got to remember to ask the right question.
Yes. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I don't know that it'll still make a difference in the answer, but I feel that it would.
Yeah. I had another client years ago who was an older man, and he wasn't really into all this stuff, but he was a friend of mine who urged him to come and see me. And he had suffered, like he was in his 60s. When I say older, God, that's the age that he was then, because this is about 25 years ago. Oh my God, time, I tell you, when I was young. And I thought he was old. Now I'm old. Anyway, he was like, my mother died when I was 2, and I was wondering if it was my fault. I've carried this burden with me my whole life. And then I took him into a meditation. Isn't that crazy? Was there something I did that made her die? Was I too naughty, or she just didn't, like imagine being in your 60s and carrying that burden that your mother died because of you, because you were a naughty 2-year-old or something crazy, I know. But he said he had a daughter in her 30s, and I took him into a meditation, and he said, I keep seeing my mother and daughter's face changing into each other, like she's my mother and then she's my daughter and she's my mother. So I asked him the question, is your daughter your mother? And he said, no. And then my spirit guide said to me, stupid question, ask a different question. Of course that his mother is not his daughter. It's a completely different body, completely personality. They're different, they're different. They're not the same. And I said, okay, is the soul of your mother or the spirit of your mother the same spirit that is your daughter? And he just started weeping and crying and crying and crying, because this woman that he'd been grieving, this soul, this spirit, I mean, he couldn't really have known his mother at 2 as a person. He couldn't know her personality or her life. but he missed this soul that had died when he was 2. She had been with him for like 35 years as his daughter. Yeah, but it was interesting that they said, wrong question, ask a different question. Yeah, so we've got to be careful what we say. So, world records. Hello, dear friends. Lovely to see you. Yeah, lovely to see you too. Lady says, thank you. Now, I think I missed Down to Earth. Here we go. Down to Earth says, anything coming across that I should be putting my energy more towards, please. My career needs to change. I know that, lol. So burnt out. Appreciate any help. Oh, darling one. I know. Yeah. What are you
I'm
getting?
getting that you know where you want to put your energy. You know exactly what would bring you joy. It's just you're not sure of how lucrative it would be, and we're all worried about, having lights on. But if you take that leap into what you want and ask your team to support you, thank them for supporting you because they do. The statement that I'm getting is, there are different currencies in life. Yes, money, but there's joy, there's experience. And if you find that you have the courage to grasp where your happiness lies, you'll find that in a surprising way, it'll pay off.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to reiterate what Sandy said. Put your energy into feeling good no matter what's happening in your life. Know that you are the creator of your reality, and that if you're not happy in what you're doing now, think about how you want to feel in what you do. Don't necessarily think about what it is that you want to do. Think about how you want to feel. Like, I want to make a difference. I want to feel fulfilled. I want to feel like I'm making a difference. I want to feel like this. I want to feel like that. And evoke those feelings. Like, what do I do in my life where I do feel satisfied and fulfilled and like I've achieved something? And it could be something as simple as, for me, I feel like when I clean the house, I'm like, oh, I've achieved something today. I mean, I know that's a silly, trivial thing, but it evokes that feeling. It evokes that feeling for me. I know that when the house is messy and in chaos, my mind is in chaos. And when I tidy things up and clean things up, I feel like, oh, I can think again. I've got sort of order in my mind, order in my body, order in my house. But yeah, evoke the feeling that you want to feel regardless of the circumstances. And
real quick, they're saying that right now you're not sure it's a feasible, like a what you're looking for, what brings you happiness. You don't think there's a job in it or a career in it, but there's a way that you can make that work. And not just, yes, it will be, to live life is to be enjoying it, but also they are saying that there's a lucrative side to it, that you can turn it into a profitable situation for you on multiple levels.
Yeah. Diane has a great question here. Sorry, I missed it before, Diane, because there's so many questions coming in from different platforms that I don't miss it. So she wants to know, I'm curious how Sandy was handpicked to prepare for someone leaving the body. Did she say it was her guides, or did the humans contact her? Yeah, good question.
Okay, so I wasn't really looking for another job, because between my charity I run and the one part-time job I have and the medium sessions, I was pretty full. And this person we kept crossing paths. And I finally, one day somebody said, hey, I gave them your number again. I hope you don't mind. And I was like, okay. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll talk to this person. And so they offered me a position to help this woman who was having many health issues. And I kept saying, I'm pretty busy. I'm pretty, I can't, I don't want to shortchange my mediumship business. I want to bring the comfort to others that they need from sessions and stuff. And so I did a meditation on it. And they're like, look, you can still do both. And you are helping someone in a very personal way. So instead of talking words, you're going to put it into actions. And I said, yes, but will I still be able to get to the people that I need to connect with for their comfort, for their, for sessions? And they said, silly girl, we will give you plenty of time. And they were looking for a position that was 9 to 6. And I said, I'm sorry, I can only do 9 to 2. And they went, okay. And
There you
so
go.
they said, you'll see it'll work out. And so it is helping someone in a different way. And it's amazing. She's very religious in her religion, but she also has
Mhm.
singing bowls and speaks. She does Gregorian chants in the morning, and she talks
Wow.
about the energy being raised and the vibration being raised in her house. So
Good on her.
I'm thinking we're a pretty good match. It all just, I kept saying, I need a sign that when I went to her house, I need a sign. And I saw all the singing bowls in a beautiful case. And I went, I wonder if that's a sign. And 15 minutes later, she talked about it's a great vibe and there's this energy, and she just loves when the energy's raised in the room. And I went, I guess I'm missing the point. You guys gave me the hints. And so I meditated on a bit longer. And so now I work with her.
How
So
old
it
is
was
she?
both. She's only 77. So
Yeah,
she's
not that old.
not, like you were saying earlier, 25 years ago, 77 might have looked ancient to me, but at 60, 77 doesn't look that old.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And Shirley says here that she wants Down to Earth to come back and if you take the advice and run with it that we've given you, tell us how you're going.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what you're creating. Okay. So here's a question here. Struggling from, how do you say that, world records?
Oh, wait, you're doing a different one.
I don't know how to struggling with flux of spiritual highs and spiritual lows. Is balance realistic for the body?
I think it's something that we all have to work to achieve throughout time. I mean, there's highs and lows. There's also I've had times, and they're telling me that that's what we all achieve. That's what we all are striving for, is finding the balance in our lives. Whether it's, on so many different levels, health, finances, everything. They're saying that for you specifically, they really do believe there's a chance for balance. The thing you have to do is put it into your mind that you're capable of balance. You are, by asking this question, even, you're doubting the ability to find the balance. And apocryphal world record sounds like somebody pretty spiritual to me. But don't question it so much. Just strive for it, work for it, enjoy the ups and the downs. There was a woman that Karen knows very well, Eris, who kept saying life is a roller coaster. Enjoy the ups and the downs.
There you go. There you go. I got it, as soon as I read the question, I got the roller coaster image, because I see a lot of images. And then as Sandy was speaking, I got the merry-go-round image.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, that's interesting. And they were saying, absolutely, you can create the balance. They were saying that the body is in a constant flux of what is called homeostasis. So the body is secreting thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of chemical reactions are happening in the body in any 1 second. And they all need to balance with each other. There's a thing called homeostasis. So the body is in a constant flux of trying to balance all the chemicals that are happening. But it is dependent on what we do with our thinking and our emotions. So when we're on the roller coaster ride, up and down, Eris, the roller coaster ride, exactly, then the body struggles harder to find that balance.
Right.
But as we find balance in our thinking, like struggling with the flux of spiritual highs and spiritual lows, I don't know, I wouldn't call it spiritual highs and spiritual lows. You can hit upon a thought or be in a meditation where you hit upon a frequency where you're just in bliss and excited, or just in bliss and feeling like you're loving everything and the world's loving you. And I would call that maybe a spiritual high. And a spiritual low is when you're believing your stressful thoughts. So anything that your emotions or feelings is an indication that you're believing there's like active in your vibration, a subconscious programming, a limited thought about yourself that you're believing. So you can be out of that subconscious programming and on a spiritual high, as you say, or you can believe. So every emotion that we're having is an indication of what we're believing to be true. So you can use that emotion, like, I'm feeling crappy right now. What am I believing about myself? And then work with it and go back to the truth of who you are. Because, the truth of who we are is we're not our circumstances. We're not the money we make. We're not how successful we are. We're not even the health in our body. We're not our mind. We're not our personality. We are pure positive energy. We are a stream of consciousness. We are an extension of source energy, infinite intelligence, infinite creative potential. That is who we really are. And when we lose that connection to our true identity and get caught up in the I am not, things aren't working out for me, or I am sick, or I am old, or I am fat, or I am, when we're on that trajectory of really identifying with the circumstances of our life, it's a reminder to return to the love of who we are. Like, I'm really not these circumstances. Right. Who am I really? I am an extension of pure, positive, creative potential. I can create anything I want when I shift my focus away from feeling bad to feeling good. And this is our potential. We have the ability to change thought. We have the ability to change what we believe. But for the most part, when we get on this momentum of thought and it takes us down a rabbit hole, either the highs or the lows, we feel like we are on a roller coaster ride, and it is like out of our control. It is out of our control, and we can't control it. And we feel like we're just being pushed, and but it is in our control.
The one thing that they're saying right now is that you've chosen the roller coaster ride. Now you just have to choose your highs and lows and how hard and fast you want to ride that. So the more you accept the things that come into your life and see the good side of it. Just in a session, I'm a firm believer that when I have sessions on the same days, messages carry over from one to the other. And she was saying in the one session that I had, she was saying that she worries about her heart so much. And they said, as long as you worry about it, you're going to be in a state of worry. Understand what it is, do what you need to do, and then let it be. And so the big thing is I always look at, when you get on the roller coasters as a kid, I couldn't go on I couldn't think about it. I'd be in line and we'd be waiting. And then as you step up to the line, it's like, okay, this is still my choice. Yes, sir. And then you get on, then you're on for the ride. So enjoy it. You might as well enjoy it.
Yeah, you're on for the ride. Enjoy it. And let's tune into, I haven't heard from Eris for a while. Eris used to be so present, but there's some lovely comments.
Comes and visits.
Does she come and visit?
Yeah, she comes and visits. I can almost tell you on days that you're having technical difficulties, because she'll go she'll say, Karen, ha, 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 ha.
I haven't felt her around me for a while. What's down to earth saying here? Thank you both so much. That helped me have a lot more clarity and hope. Oh, I do worry about making bank.
Money.
But money. Is that an expression, making bank?
Yeah.
But want to be happy, I absolutely need to clean and organize my home and my life. There you go. Yeah. And what does he say here? I think it's a he, down to earth. Are you a he or a she? I clean for a living. Oh my God, but can't seem to clean for myself. I get that. I totally get that. I get that.
Yep.
I used to cook for a living, and I reached a point in my life where I felt like I never wanted to cook ever again. No, I get that. It's like they say, the plumber's pipes are always leaking.
Yep.
Oh gosh, if I miss your questions, please write them again. Good people, good medicine. Thank you. I think therefore I am. Now, how do you pronounce this name? Buzzacchino. I kind of think that's cute. I think therefore I am. I feel that I may know who, what, where, when, and why I am. I want to share something. There's no more questions that I can see at the moment. Or as I say, if I've missed a question, please pop it in again. Carol says hi. I was doing a reading with somebody the other day, and she was talking to her brother, and then she said, oh, but I know you're in a better place, and I know you're happy because you're in a better place. And they gave me the most fantastic analogy about that. They said that, well, I wouldn't necessarily call it a better place. It's just a different place. And even though we don't have the challenges that you have here on earth, from our perspective, that is so wanted. And then they gave me this analogy, which I thought was beautiful. because trying to understand that, like we're dealing with, death and disease and divorce and drama. Petria King, a beautiful healer here, calls it the 4 Ds. We're dealing with all the Ds down here: depression, drama, disease, death, sickness, disease, as I said. And we're all sort of like, and politics, we're all like, the world's a terrible place. Stop the ride, I want to get off. But they said it like this: imagine that you're trekking around the world. You're carrying a backpack, like you're young, you're carrying your backpack and on your back. You really don't know where you're going. And some days you might be homeless and you might be sleeping, in a tent in the rain and climbing mountains. And it's a struggle. And you meet new people every day, and there's a new adventure every day. And you're dreaming of your home and being in your comfy bed and having your washing machine. Like you're dreaming of all the comforts of home. And then you come home from your adventure around the world, trekking around the world, and all the struggles that you went through. And you're sleeping in your comfy bed and you've got all your comforts around you. And you're thinking about your trip and you're going, oh my God, that was such an adventure. Yeah. That was so much fun. Even though there were times where I couldn't eat and I had nowhere to sleep and, I was out of my comfort zone. It was like, especially when you years later and you think back when you were young and you were backpacking around the world and all the adventures and fun times you have, and you think about it with such fondness and how exciting it was. And they said that's all. It's going to make me cry. That's how we think about Earth. Like we might be up here in our comfy bed and in pure positive energy, but there are no challenges like you have there. And we miss that. And we can't wait to get back to that. Like we think about it with such a blessing. Like we don't think, get me out of here. We think, get me down there. And I just thought that was so cool. I have a group
of friends that we get together, and 2 of them are like, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. That you can't make me come back.
Yeah.
And over time, I'm like, you know what? I feel like once you're there and you understand what you went through here and you get it all set in your mind, then you're going to go, wait, I know how I could do this better, or I know I could learn this lesson there. So it's almost like a human thing where you're not as happy with what you have and you just look forward to the other. The grass is always greener. But it's funny because over the years, talking about spiritual things and meeting with her family and stuff, she's like, you know what? I think I might come back because I think I can learn from this, and I think I can do better. And I'm like, well, then do better this time, and then you'll have even more. So it's an ongoing process. And I think that our life now is an ongoing process. And when we cross to the other side, it's going to be, yes, an ongoing process. And then we choose whether or not we want to learn things. I always look at heaven or the other side as we learn things like studying, and here it's a crash course. It's like it's hands-on experience. There you can learn by observing and understand, oh, I see what they did. But here it's like, I almost started to say something. You go hardcore. That's better than what I was going to say.
I'm one of these people that can't wait to come back, even though I get really bored with physical life. But I want to come back into a future time with all that I've been dreaming of that is possible is actually a reality, is a time where we are all telepathically connected and we communicate differently, is a time where our technology is beyond, like I'm in my flying car, or maybe I'm using teleportation to travel around the earth instead of having to get on a plane. Like in a time where, life is really different. We're still going to have physical challenges, but when all I've dreamed about that is possible is actually a physical reality, I don't see myself living in this body where teleportation is going to be possible. Maybe, but I doubt it. But I can't wait to sort of come back when that time. So like we think about coming back to Earth, we think about coming back into the same time frame and the same circumstances that are here on Earth. But from soul, like this is what the guides have showed me, when we insert ourselves into the Earth's experience, we do so through all time and space, and we pick what time. There is no time in spirit. We can be in Atlantis, we can be in the year 3000, like we can pick what time frame, and we do so, simultaneously. So when those people say, I'm never coming back to this hellhole, they're actually already back. They're actually living in their future. They're back. So I remember Esther Hicks used to say, "We'll carry your message." People would say, please tell the guys I don't want to come back. And they say, "We'll carry your message," as if you can make that decision from this perspective. Olivia F has a question here. Hi there. Hi, Olivia. Would Ricardo Casa Jr. have a message for his son, Arnold, or wife, Bertha? That's your expertise, Sandy.
Okay. So the first thing I heard is I left quite a mess, and I apologize for that. It was, I believe he felt that there was more that he had to accomplish, but he, first and foremost, he wants to send his love. But the biggest thing on his mind, I think he's saying to his wife, "I left a mess, and I'm very sorry for that. I do believe that you're strong enough to have handled it all, put it all in the right perspective, and fix my messes. You could always fix my messes." To his son, keep on keeping on is what he says. He says, there are going to be many struggles in life, and it's your attitude towards them and how you handle them that really makes a difference in your life. So I didn't always handle things the way I should have. Learn from my lessons, even though nobody learns from other people's lessons, but try to take the good from what you knew of me, and go forward in life, just trying to do better. Just make the next day better or more productive than the day before. He said, don't look at it day by day. You'll get discouraged. Look at it a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time, a project at a time. But he said, just keep trying to work to improve things. I feel like he was a dreamer, and he had big dreams. And so there were some messes he left behind, and that's what he's apologizing for. But dreams can come true if you take them in small steps, as opposed to jumping in the deep end quickly. So and he says, there, take that, know that I always send my love, and I am around to support you, and I thank you. I thank you for the kind words you said. There were some kind of words of forgiveness. I don't know which one did, but he thanks you for that, because he didn't expect it. But he says, dream big, start small.
Dream big, start small. Thanks, darling one. And let me do a station ID break. We are, where are we? Who are we? Where are we? This is ATP, Accentuate the Positive, Awakening Consciousness Media, on the United Public Radio Network, with Karen Swain and Sandra Marie, doing Spirit Speaks on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3 FM syndicated radio all over the place. I have to actually do a recording of me saying that, so I can just press a recording. Joe, who runs the station, says, "I'm going to do some station ID so everyone can just press the recording and it runs." And I'm like, that's a good idea. I could just do my own recording, but I haven't managed to do that yet, so I don't have to repeat it. We're supposed to repeat it every few times during an hour has gone. Practically an hour has gone already. Hasn't that gone quickly, wow. Sandy?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, I thought it was just a few minutes.
So we've got about just over half an hour left. Oh, Diane, you're having a new grandbaby due mid-July. How exciting. I wonder if you can connect with him or her and see what he plans to accomplish here in this carnation. Now, that is a big question. That is a big question.
And the very first thing I heard is peace. And peace, not like on a global front, although every bit of peace that we can bring to our corner brings peace to the rest. But I feel like this baby is going to reunite. I don't know if they're estranged people, or maybe that people travel far, but I feel like this baby is going to bring people together.
Oh, okay. Ooh, do I want to say this?
More?
Yeah.
You're hesitant.
When you said peace, yeah, I am hesitant. Initially, when I tuned into the energy, it was such a beautiful, sparkling, divine, high frequency energy, just gorgeous. And when you said peace, I was thinking, yeah, higher consciousness coming into the world, but also not going to be easy. So again, the challenges, what brings people together often are challenges. So, but remember that it's all happening for more love, for more connection, for more unity. But not going to be easy is what I said, but just the most beautiful, high, sparkling,
beautiful. Yes,
divine
sparkling is
energy.
what I get. Sparkling
Energy.
like sparkles, like the sand in the sun, or I mean, it was just it was beautiful. It is beautiful. This baby, I think most babies' energies are, but I feel like this baby is going to have its own pace in life. You understand that?
And Diane, you'll be, your wisdom important. Yeah, who you are and what you have to offer, your guidance and your spiritual guide. Not just grandma duties, but will be really important. Yeah, this baby will bring people together.
And don't fear from what we said. Don't fear that. Just know that this baby has chosen a really great experience.
Yeah, absolutely. This baby's a master soul coming in to help. What's the word I'm looking for? Finish the combination of karma, to bring together, to finish the story of
right. That's why the people will there'll be a reconnection of some kind. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, master soul. Oh, very exciting. I get all teary thinking about it.
You have to tell us though. Give us an update at some point.
Yeah, give us an update. And Olivia says, dream big, start small. Thank you very much. So much. Peace. Thank you. Makes perfect sense, Diane says.
Good.
What does he say here? Buzzachino? If you look into the mirror and you like the human you see, the bad just had to happen and it's time to let it be. Totally one. You are a poet. How cool. Question. Here's a question. What's the question? What does a whitish golden aura represent? Mastery. Yeah, go on. You go.
No, that's all. I was going to say that there's a higher consciousness. Often I believe that when you have the white, like pristine white, I feel like your spirit team is very close to you, and you're very close to evolving spiritually. People's auras can change from time to time, but the goldish and the white, I feel like it's like the heavens have touched your energy. And like I said, they're like yellow can represent different things for different people, but white and gold just seem to be peace, divine, the touch of the divine is what I want to say. Like where how am I want to, that you have it within you to actually manifest the touch of the divine. Have I made the point right? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, look, I use white and gold a lot in healing. I was working on someone the other day actually, and I wasn't necessarily seeing or asking for that energy to come in, but he had a lot of problems in his solar plexus, like in the organs in his solar plexus. And I asked him to go into his solar plexus, and I said, "What do you see?" And he said, "I see this golden yellow color. I see the color yellow." So to me, it represents mastery. To me, when a soul comes in gold, because I see auras. I see spirit as sparks, as points of light. And when I see a gold one, often the fairy energy turn up as gold. But when I see a gold spark of light from spirit, I know that it's like a master teaching soul, like a master soul. Someone that's sort of graduated the earth experience. But yeah, you can use the white light is what I use all the time, because I believe that white light contains all the colors. So if you bring in the white light, you can, whatever color needs to be, whatever frequency in the colors is there to be used. But right. Let me ask you this question. Why do you ask that question? What does a white goldish? Who do you see that has a white goldish aura. Is it you? Is it you with that? Or who do you see that has that aura? So do you see auras? Bazzacino? Bazzacino. Are you Italian? He's on Rumble. Yay, someone talking to us on Rumble. And I don't see any more questions here. But yeah, you can evoke that energy in yourself if you're feeling like you have. I often ask, because you can say, put this color into my solar plexus, or put it into whatever, my neck or head, or put this color. But I just go up and ask the white light, the all that is, what energy is needed for this, pain. Sandy and I were both talking about having headaches before we started. Has your headache gone? Mine has, for the most part. Hasn't gone?
No, but I can. It depends. When a question is asked, it depends on which section is, I don't know, being activated or whatever. It used to always be that if I was in meditation or whatever, I had a headache, and I've learned I don't need that pain, and I keep telling them that today, and it's still here. So I'm just going to say I'm using it for the greater good.
Well, you're using the pain for the greater good.
Yes, I'm just implementing it for the greater good.
God, just thinking about it, it's funny, when I thought about not having a headache, it came back instantly. Yep. The pain in the back of my head came back instantly. But what I do in my healing sessions is I always communicate with the pain, ask the pain. So pain in the body or negative emotion is an indication, is a guidance from your intelligence, from the intelligence of the body or the intelligence of the higher consciousness that is speaking to you. Pay attention, we have a message for you. So I always ask what that message is. And it might be to de-stress, or it might be to change your thought forms, or it might be to pay attention to your physical health and make appropriate action to change your physical health. It might just be to change your circumstances, like maybe you've been on the computer all day, or you need to get out and earth yourself, get in the ocean, put your feet on some grass. But it's always an indication. It's always a message from the intelligence of your body.
So when I studied with you, one of the first things, I had a headache one night, and one of the first things you said is just tell them, thank you, I don't need this pain anymore, I get it. And I use that is my first go-to. And then eventually, if it doesn't go away, then I figure, okay, what's next? But that's my first step. So thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Olivia says, love hearing your conversation, so full of wisdom. Thank you, Taiwan. And what does Bazzacino, that name, I love that name. I had a medium tell me that that aura, that I was 10 years old, plus I see future clips in my dreams and use a bit of healing hands now and then. Oh, so it's your aura that is gold and white. So you are the master soul. Da, 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 da. Time to activate.
Yeah.
Time to activate.
And it was at 10 years of age. So you've had a bit of experience with it. Yeah. I love it.
I want to say something to everyone that's listening. If you've dabbled in this work and you've thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool to do that? Or I'd love to be able to do that. I'd love to be able to do what Sandy does. I'd love to be able to do what Karen does. Now is the time to go down that path. You can do this. If this is interesting to you, you're fascinated about it, now is the time to explore your psychic ability, to expand your psychic ability, and to be there, because we are in turbulent times and things are only going to get more chaotic, because we are shifting to a new time on planet Earth where this stuff, I've spoken about it every show, like the telepathy takes are going viral, where this knowledge is coming out into the mainstream, and people across the planet are going to be waking up to their telepathic and psychic abilities. And it's going to be a very confusing time for a lot of people who don't rely on them or don't use them or don't think about it. Because when you become more sensitive, like you get to feel, like that's why so many kids are so empathic. You get to feel all the energies and frequencies on our planet and the thought forms. You get to feel your own thought forms more intensely. So if you indulge in negative thinking, then you feel a lot worse. But if you indulge in more positive thinking, then you feel a lot better. But this is happening on a global scale. People are waking up and becoming more sensitive. And there'll be a time where, as you've explored this ability in yourself, you'll be able to help others. Yeah, so it's important.
When I first started doing this, I've told the story before, but it's because when my mom passed, we wanted to stay still connected. And so I worked hard on it. But so I was doing mediumship readings for a long time. And I had a friend who just out of the blue sent me a woman I barely knew, sent me a text saying, "Hey, can you help my dog?" And I said, and then the person who told her about me said, "Oh, by the way, I gave your number to somebody." And so I said, "Well, I'll tell you what, all I know is I can try, because a soul is a soul is a soul. I can try and we'll see how it goes." And I went there, and it was so funny because this dog had cancer, and he was very concerned about his person. He doesn't say owner, but his person wasting money if he couldn't afford it. And when she reassured him that she didn't mind, and she had the money, and she had pet insurance, and all of a sudden he said, "Oh, well, why didn't you just tell me that? Yes, let's go do the surgery." And it wasn't until I walked out of that house that I went, "I just talked to a dog. I just talked to a dog." And I was like, wow. So somebody asked me, I have a friend whose ex-husband has early onset dementia and frontal lobe dementia. And we were talking about him, and he came into the room with us, and he spiritually, and he was saying, I'm trying to go. I'm working on it. And then I realized that I was talking to someone who was still alive. But it's that whole thing. I think I first heard about it when I was talking to you at one time, that our souls, that book, that man whose son was autistic and he didn't treat him. And he says that our souls are part of our soul still stays in heaven. So if part of our soul stays in heaven, it can travel where it needs to. And so what this man said to his ex-wife is, I'm staying till the girls can handle it. And so all of a sudden I realized that I only thought I could talk to dead people, but then by giving myself the chance to do it, I could talk to a dog. I could talk to a soul who's still here, but stuck in his body. And so I'm not saying this for you, yay me. I'm saying it because I thought I'd go for it, and I'd try it, and I trusted my team. And if you do that, all of us can do that. And so if you're worried that I can't do it, then you won't be able to. But if you say, all right, what the heck, I'll try it, it's going to work. If it doesn't work the first time, keep trying, trust it. And a lot of it doesn't come down to whether or not your team can do it. It's to whether or not you trust yourself to let your team do it. I've lost your audio.
Sorry, I muted myself. That book that you were talking about, Dr. Leo Galland is his name. I'm just trying to find him. The book is called Already Here. Oh my God, it's such a great book. I've been talking about it a lot lately, so I just Googled it to let me just share my screen, because it is such a beautiful book that I would say anyone everyone should read. It's a small book. It was about Mr. Galland had a mentally disabled son. Let me just put this into my website here. And here we go. And he died when he was 22. And Dr. Galland started hearing him from spirit. And here's the website. God, my website went crazy. Just something else that went crazy. My website went crazy, so it doesn't look so great. Started hearing him from spirit, and he was a master soul, and he started channeling all this amazing information to Dr. Galland, and he wrote this book called Already Here. And see, anyway, the website. And it's such a beautiful little book, and you can buy it on my website, but I need to fix the website. Because he was saying, you know how when we talk about you when you're down on earth, because he was having conversations with his son in spirit, and he says, when you die, he says, you know, Dad, you're already here. Like, we're all already here. We're not here or there. We're here and there simultaneously. something that Preston Dennett talks about when he has his astral travels at night. He's up there with all his alive and dead relatives in an astral form, all hanging out in the spirit world while their body's sleeping. So yeah, as I said, we die every night. Oh, I forgot to get to Keto Karen. Keto Karen, it's an interesting name. Does my mother have any messages for me? What is your full name, Keto Karen? Can you tune in to Keto Karen's mum? Is she there?
The first thing I heard is you're very hard on yourself. And I guess you get that from me. And I want you to stop doing that. Learn from my mistakes. Again, it keeps repeating today. Learn from my mistakes. Don't be so hard on yourself, and give yourself a chance to find joy. She's saying that wasn't always something that she stressed in life, to find the joy, and it was always about results and what she needed, and you had to be this way and it had to be perfect. And she's saying, I've learned that you need to give yourself more grace, that we all need to give ourselves more grace. We have to understand that we came here to live this imperfect life. We're not supposed to achieve perfection. We're supposed to make progress, but not achieve perfection. If you have perfection, what's the use of being here? And she wants you to know that it's a lesson she learned not on this side. And she wants you to take that to heart and understand that that's what she realized she got wrong in this lifetime, that it's progress, not perfection. And so don't be so hard on yourself.
Oh, beautiful. Buzzacino's chiming in here. Let us know how that Karen Hastings, thanks Karen, how Keto Karen, sounds like keto. Are you a dietitian? Keto diet? Anyway, let us know how that resonates with you. And Vladdy says here, this is one for the two of you, is it true that if the left ear is ringing, then your higher self is contacting you? And if the right ear is ringing, then your guides are contacting you. Okay, I'm going to answer this one.
Okay.
Whatever you have to say, you chime in afterwards. You can design any indication you like. Like if you can say to your team, when my higher self is contacting me, make my left ear ring. And when my spirit guides are talking to me, make my right. Like you can design that. No, it is not necessarily the truth, but if you make it the truth, then it is your truth. Yeah. I mean, ringing of the ears has a lot of different reasons. And what I do with ringing, I mean, it can be galactic frequency, and your body is adjusting and you're hearing it as ringing in the ears. It can be tinnitus. It can be a sign from your body that says, pay attention, listen, pay attention to your health. Look, it can be a myriad of things. There's not one right answer for the ringing in the ears. But what I do is that when I hear it, instead of going, oh my God, I've got the ringing in my ears again, like a lot of people do, or some people say to me that they have ringing in the ears the whole time they're here on earth. It's just constant ringing. And I'm like, really? I think that's strange. But anyway, but when I get it, I just tune into it. I just listen to it and go, oh, wow, that is so cool. And as soon as I start to appreciate it and tune into it, it just goes. And then I kind of want it to come back. Like, what are you saying? Like, to come back. It's like I chase it. But yeah, if you want it to be in the left ear, if that's the higher self, yeah, you design it the way you want it to be. So if that's your intention, Vladdy, it's a yes for you. Yeah. What do you want to say about that?
I don't get ringing in my ears. My boys do. Yeah. My boys do. My mom set up a long time ago that all of my kids are capable of doing this. My daughter does. She doesn't get the ringing either. She can just hear. But my one son, my oldest son, he doesn't even, I don't think he even knows I do this. But he will say, hey, grandma called. And she told him that when he heard the ringing in his ears, that it would be her trying to reach out to him. And I'll say, oh, I love that you have that sign. What did she say? He goes, nothing. I hung up on her. And I go, No, when this was first happening and I couldn't get it exactly right, I go, why would you skip out on something like that? He's like, yeah, that's your thing, not mine. I'm like, wow. Okay. So I don't think that that's the only sign. You can make the deal with people, with your team, with your higher self of what you want your signs to be. I never have ringing in my ears. My hands tingle.
Do
So
they?
yeah, my hands tingle all I have to do is say, like today, I was going to meditate and then I got the time wrong and I ran out of time. I'm like, oh God, team, are you? And I went, okay, never, my hands are tingling. So it's just a thing that we set up because I didn't like the headache. So I said, okay, if I need a sign. And they always say, you really don't need a sign. You just need to stop talking and listen. I go, okay.
Yeah, right. Well, we don't, but they're kind of like training wheels. If you really want to determine that the thoughts that are streaming through your head are coming from guidance or higher self or spirit guides or dead people, then you can set up a sign for yourself so that lets your ego mind, the small you, know that these thoughts are coming from spirit. But then you just get discerning, like you just know the quality of the thought. You know when it's your ego speaking, and you know when it's guidance. Like you just know it. You don't need the signs, but the signs you can set up. Karen says here, yes, keto diet. She does the keto diet. Yes, yeah. I do keto diet. Susan. Hey, Susan. The other day, I picked out a card to send my friend whose mum died, asking which card to pick. I heard big red and picked a photo of an orange lily. I heard big red and picked a photo of an orange lily. I think I was connected. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If you think you connected with someone, you did, because you made the connection in your head. Like, oh, I think this is, you're right. Yeah. It's that easy. We just make it more difficult for ourselves. And I don't say that like I get it right all the time. I just mean that it is that easy. It can be that easy. We just make it difficult for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And go with it. And when you have those thoughts, I think that talking, like, go with it and start to notice when you have those feelings more, because the thing is that this is happening. Spirit's talking to us all the time, all of us all the time. But for the most part, we're ignoring it, or we're just thinking it's just a random thought or a strange vision, or that's strange, I'm going to ignore it. And we push it away and push it away.
Well, how weird.
If you start to like focus on it and say, wow, I'm receiving this message, and notice it more. The more you put your focus on something, the more it expands, the more you'll have that awareness, and that's how you expand your psychic abilities. My right ear rings when something is not helpful, and the left ear when something is. Poco one. What's your name, Poco? That's cool. When something that's interesting. That's what you've set up for yourself. And Susan says, thank you for the validation. Yeah, but keep noticing.
Definitely.
Did you ever have your guide say your life was pulling you out of your body just before an accident? Did you ever have your guide save your life by pulling you out of your body before you had? No, I haven't. What about you?
No. Thankfully I haven't been in that type of an accident before. I have had, we did have an accident on the way to Chicago. It was icy, and we rolled. My dad was driving. There were 9 of us in a Suburban, and we rolled 6 times, and whoa. I came out without a scratch. And I consider that was a time where it could have been way worse. None of us were hurt. But while we were in the back of the police car, the ones that needed to go to an ambulance be checked, my grandma, my great aunt, and my mom took one of my brothers. Everybody was fine. But my brother and I were sitting in the back of the police car. And while we were in the back of the police car, we saw a 18-wheeler coming towards my dad and the police officer on the side of the road. And we watched as it looked like it was heading straight for it, and at the last second it just missed them. I mean, it literally just looked like it was moved over. And so I get goosebumps every time I think of that, because you can't, in the back of a police car, in case you've never been in, and I've only been in as an accident victim, but there are no handles to get out. And so you can't get out of the back seat. So we're screaming, and they're up on the road, and there was no way they're going to hear us. And we thought for sure we were going to watch my dad and the police officer be ground hit by the semi. And it literally felt like the car, they were coming straight for him, and it just moved over. And I guess you could say on ice that maybe the whole truck did move on ice because it was icy. But in my mind, and I'm pretty sure I believe this truly, I mean, that it's true. I believe that God just went, just kind of shoved that truck over so that 2 children didn't have to witness that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've spoken to people like Garnet Shaw, that was on the show not long ago, that spirit guide takes him around the cosmos and shows him lots of amazing things, takes him over to the spirit side, as he calls it, introduced him to his guardian angel. And I never forget that Garnet, who his first book was called Dancing on a Stamp. And I said, why did you call it that? And he said, my spirit guide said, when you have the universe as your ballroom, you can dance anywhere in the universe. He said, for most of your life, you've been dancing on a stamp. That was hilarious. I thought that was hilarious because he sort of made his life really small, just focusing on making money, and he was a corporate lawyer and very fixed and conservative. And he called his first book Dancing on a Stamp. So he said to his guardian angel, oh, you would have been bored, so that he was introduced to his guardian angel that saved him from killing himself, basically. He said, you would have been really bored because I've led such a safe life that you wouldn't have had much to do. And he said that she opened up this screen, and like a video screen, and started showing him all the times that she'd saved his life. And there was just over and over and over and over, like the little kid that runs in front of the car with the ball and stops the car, and just so many times that he never even noticed his life was in danger. But so many times when you're not finished here, like that team, that guardian angel team, they're going to stop you from killing yourself. So when you say, I hope that they, moved the truck, they moved the truck. Yeah. They moved the truck. Yeah. I felt once, and this is something I had this man staying with me years ago, and he used to drive me crazy because he was all in his head, and he was the biggest geek you've ever known, but he was just gorgeous, but he was such a geek, and I was very critical of him, and I was in my head criticizing him, going, oh, you're such an idiot, you're such a geek. He wasn't an idiot, but he was very geeky, and he was totally in his head, and not in his feelings. And I took it upon myself to try and bring him out of his head and into his body. But anyway, that's another story. But he was sitting next to me in the car, yabbering away about something, and I was criticizing him in my head. And a truck stopped in front of me, and we were on a hill. And I slammed on the brakes, and I felt the car being pushed into the back of the truck. Like I felt it in the moment that the guides, or the energy, was pushing me into the back of the truck. My brakes didn't fail. My brakes were fine. And there wasn't a lot of damage, a bit of bender fender, not much damage on his truck at all. We exchanged numbers and everything, and he went away, and I would have had to have paid for it because I smashed into him. But I knew that I was being thrown into this back of this truck, and I knew that they were saying, cut it out. Cut it out.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes drastic measures, girl.
I felt it because I had my foot on the brake, and the car kept going, and I'm like, you bastards, you're doing this to me. And the guy that I hit was only just a scratch, because it wasn't a big accident. He never got back to me, so he never asked for the money, and I don't even think I fixed the car. I just had a ding on my, but I felt the interaction. Like I felt it. I knew at the time that they were doing it. And I'm like, why are you doing this to me? And they're like, change your thoughts. Change your thoughts. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I've got to stop criticizing. So it happens both ways. Poco says, I left my body just before I stopped breathing. You stopped breathing? You stopped breathing? Tell us more about that.
Yeah.
What have we got? Oh, we've got 7 minutes to go. Anything you'd like to say? I know.
This is the fastest thing. Today's message for everybody seems to be, stop a minute and find your joy, because everything is moving at such a pace, and there's so much chaos right now that just take a breath, give yourself a second. And yeah, you might just have to jump back into the chaos, but to take that moment to appreciate that the chaos that is yours, because I had a friend whose mother was, I thought, very unsympathetic. And she used to always say, when her daughter was complaining, she used to say, well, it's not so bad that it couldn't be worse. So be grateful for what it is. And I think that's terrible. And when my mom was dying, I said, Mom, remember Melissa's mom said, it's not so bad, it couldn't be worse. I don't know what could be worse than this. And my mom said, it could be one of my babies. And so, yes, it could always be worse. But in my head, in the human part of me, I went, yeah, but what's the thing of it's not so bad, it couldn't get worse, but it could get lots better. So
it could get better.
Just keep working to get it lots better. Again, light up your corner. Light up your corner. Light
up the world. Yeah, you guys that watch this show, I've put on this show because, you see so many psychic. I really geeked out. I think I geeked out on the weekend on Tyler Henry and maybe what's her name? The one with the big hair. I was watching shows, Teresa. Yeah, I was watching shows with psychics and they give lovely messages, but there's so much more to the messages that can, like the messages that they do on the more mainstream. It's just that indication that yes, your loved ones still exist, and yes, that you're connected to them, and yes, all is well with them. Because a lot of people are like, are they okay? Which is so funny. They should be asking if we're okay. We're the ones with the backpack on, trekking, but hitchhiking across the universe. They're the ones in the comfy bed, but yeah, and I always think to myself, I know that these psychics have that connection to spirit guides and higher consciousness, and can bring through messages from higher consciousness that are so much more profound than just like your mother says, the keys are under the bed or whatever, like sort of human.
But American TV is kind of lagging behind acceptance of that. Our American public
right.
is kind of lagging.
Yeah.
So I like watching you guys shows because you guys tackle larger, broader subject matter.
On which shows?
Like the Australian shows, there are even England shows. Lots of psychics, they're broader subjects than just your mom says she loves you, and I like that. So I enjoy watching your shows so that you can I can see more of a universal in multiple ways of messages and connections.
Spirit has so much to share with us, but and Poco says here that had a respiratory arrest in 2002. Whoa, I'll have to hear more about that. But what did I have just up there that I've taken off? I had an experience on a busy highway, Shirley says. The day my mother died, I closed my eyes and prepared for the impact. A second later, I opened my eyes and was in the next lane where the 18-wheeler had been. Yeah, that happens.
And your mom says you're welcome.
Yep. I had a woman on the show quickly. She was an Australian woman that wanted to share her NDE. And she was one of the worst guests I had because she was so nervous. And I think every second word was anyway. But her story was amazing. She was hit by a car and she had the experience of leaving her body before the impact, which we often do. When we die, like we don't experience the pain of if we have a tragic death. But she said something really funny. So the car hit her, and just before the car hit her, she's out of her body looking down from above. So she's in the same place where her body was standing when she was hit by the car, but the body was way up the road. And she's not realized she's left her body, right? So she's standing on the road where the car hit her, and she's like, where's my body?
Like in the movies, like in the shows, yeah.
And her body's like way up the way, so she had to sort of fly over and see, oh, my body's down there. Anyway, she survived. She had an NDE. It was a funny story. But yeah, so 2 minutes to go. Darling, thank you so much. Remember, SandraMarieMedium.com if you want to book a session with Sandy, or KarenSwain.com if you want to book a session with me. Sandy, well, we both do the same thing, but Sandy does more of the speaking to the dead people and bringing messages from spirit, and that I'm not as good as that as Sandy is, and I do more of the the mob, the higher consciousness, and why you're here on earth and what you're here to do, and get you activated in that way. Oh, I've missed a whole lot of things here, but Susan says thank you. And what does Shirley say here? Yes, I should have crashed. Yeah, I should have crashed and was moved, literally picked up and moved. Yeah, thank you, Mum. I so appreciate that and the conversation. Thank you. Thanks, Carol. Thanks, Poco. I'd like to hear more about you. My son came back briefly to comfort him, and then he left again. Yeah, you've got a story to tell. She's on.
Yeah, definitely.
I had many near deaths. Yeah, had many near misses. What does Olivia say here? I have felt the same about the shows I've watched. Yeah. And Keto Karen says Tyler's facial expressions. Oh, I think he's gorgeous, Tyler Henry. I think he's divine. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Sandy. You're a blessing to this world, and I'm so pleased. Like Sandy's, she said when she first came on the show, if you want to hear her story, we've had Sandy on the show many times. We got her up and running as a medium. She's an amazing medium. She's amazing. I did want to say more to Eris, but I haven't tuned into Eris. I'll talk to her after the show. But we had someone in our group called Eris. Oh, it's 10 o'clock. I've got to go. And we wanted to speak to her, and Sandy brought her through, and she didn't even know Eris. She'd never met her, but it was almost like Eris was embodying your body. I was so blown away. It's like she jumped into your body. You had her expressions, you had her accent and everything, and you blew me away. Big love to all of you. Thanks again, Sandy.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Or goodbye.